What's up, everyone, and welcome to the Corporate Bartender. Is your team underperforming? I know it's easy to assume that there are talent problems, leadership problems, or skill gaps. Have you ever considered that your system might be setting them up to fail? Well, it just might be, and today we're going to dive into that idea. We've got Matt Granados on the program today. Don't know Matt? Stick around. Matt is a best-selling author, a sought-after keynote speaker, and he equips teams with a proven framework to build sustainable, burnout-free performance. And if it's worked for companies like Google, Twitter, and the U.S. Air Force, it just might work for you. Matt's written 2 international bestsellers, and if you haven't read Motivate the Unmotivated, put it on your list. This was a killer conversation. We laughed a lot. I took a ton of notes, and I just know you're going to dig it. So buckle up, TCBers, grab your favorite cocktail, and let's get right on into it with Matt Granados on today's TCB.
Welcome to SkyTeam's The Corporate Bartender, where we gather some of the best HR and people leaders to discuss what's happening on the people side of business. Now pull up a stool, belly up to the bar, and join us for The Corporate Bartender.
Welcome, everybody. It's Wednesday, and you know what that means. It's Corporate Bartender Day, your favorite day, and mine. It is the 9th of July, 2025, and the 226th time that we've done this thing. And you know what that means, Ruby? It's getting ever so much closer to your birthday. What? What? It's Ruby's birthday week.
What?
Which
That's
birthday,
exciting.
Ruby?
And today's my dad's birthday, so it's all like, connected. Yeah.
Nice.
And which birthday
Thanks.
is it for you, Ruby?
I'm gonna be 50 years old. 50.
There's going to be plenty of kicking and stretching and kicking. It's gonna be a thing. We're
Super hot. It's gonna be really hot.
Ruby is having a big birthday shindig this weekend, and it's gonna be fun. It's a costume party. It is at a local brew pub, and my band's gonna play, and we're all gonna get dressed up, and it's gonna be silly and slightly raunchy. And Ruby, what are you going as again? Who is this?
Well, let's do the test on Matt. I have a feeling it's not gonna fly. Matt, have you seen the movie Xanadu?
No, I'm not, but I have one to watch tonight now. So thank you. I was wondering
Yes,
what you
you
were going to
do.
go to
I
sleep
mean-
to.
He says
Matt.
don't watch it.
So, yeah, Matt.
So I'm going to be Olivia Newton-John from that movie. Her name is Kira.
Okay.
She is a muse. If you
Interesting.
research her name, she is the spirit of dance.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Now I have
She
to watch
wears
it.
roller skates.
So Matt,
Yeah.
just to set the stage for you and lower your expectations, because I can sense that they're a little lofty at the moment. Xanadu's a musical in the vein of Grease, like the studio was going for. We're going to make the next big Grease, and it's not that. It's just not.
It's okay. It seems like it's got decent ratings.
It's a bad movie, Matt. It's a bad movie, and but it holds a special place in
It
Ruby's
does.
heart. So
It really does.
Ruby's
That's all that matters.
she's got herself a
Well.
70s feathered hair wig and some roller skates, and
Killer
gonna
roller
be-
skates.
it's going to be a good time.
And it looks like for a $20 million budget they had, for them to be able to stay relevant in 2025,
Thank
outside
you.
of the 31% Rotten Tomatoes.
It's more of
Stay
a
strong,
cult
Ruby.
classic. I would say it's a cult classic.
I think that's just when there's a few number of people who like it. They start calling it that,
Let's
right?
keep
It's the
watching it.
size. Exactly. The same 6. So
Yeah.
that's awesome.
Yeah. Thanks, Matt.
I didn't expect to learn something that fast.
See,
So
You come to the
knowledge is
bar.
power. Thank you.
You never
Thank you.
know.
Thank you.
you never know what's going to happen. Well, as you've heard, that's Matt. He is our guest today. I'm going to tell you a little bit about him in a minute. Matt Granados is his name. He's written a couple of books. We're going to talk about frameworks. We're going to talk about burnout. We're going to talk about motivating people. We're going to talk about really peopling correctly. Matt and I were talking about that in the pre-show, and he's got some thoughts on that topic. So we're going to get into that. But before we do, little housekeeping. I've got no dark days to report for the month of July. So that's pretty awesome, considering we went on a 6-week dark run earlier this year because of work travel. So we have some guests upcoming next week. We have Reuven Shalef. He is a thinker, and he's got a company that specializes on untangling complex challenges. He has a methodology for that. I had a conversation with him about it the other day, and he's got a soft spot in his heart for relationships, just like we do here at SkyTeam. And he's got some thoughts on resiliency through relationships, which I thought was pretty dope. So on the 30th, we've got Damon Lemby. He is the CEO of Learn It, and he has written a couple of books. You see them there on the screen, The Learn It All Leader and Good Decisions Equals Success. And that one's about decision anxiety, and I'm really looking forward to that because I have severe decision anxiety, as Lori well knows. Damon's a cool guy. He was a baseball player at Arizona State, which is where I went to school. He's a little bit younger than me, so he wasn't there when I was, but you know, that's because I'm older than 50 years old, Ruby. But Damon Lemby, Ruby, and Lori has been to Circus Mexicus multiple times and was not allowed to go this year because his wife said, we've got to go somewhere else. We can't go back to the same place always. So we did not get to see him in Puerto Penasco this year, but next year he's there.
Oh, nice.
So a couple of good guests coming up. But today it's all about Matt. Matt Granados is his name. Like I said, he's the author of this book that you see, Motivate the Unmotivated, a proven system for sustainable motivation. And he's got another book called The Intentional Week. See your week differently, live your life intentionally. So I thought that was pretty cool. But what really hooked me was in his one sheet, there's always the intro language. And his open to the intro says, is your team underperforming or is your system setting them up to fail? And I thought that was just brilliant. So Matt Granados is his name. He's the founder of Life Pulse Incorporated. He's got a proven framework to build sustainable burnout-free performance. And he's done it with some of the bigs. Google, the company that we still call Twitter because that's what it's named. The Air Force, just to name a few, like I said, is the author of these 2 books. He's a sought-after keynote speaker. So we're going to rethink motivation systems and what real success looks like. And we didn't warn you, Matt, but we did give you a little taste of it when we celebrated Ruby's birthday. But we like to dance on our guests. So let's give Matt a warm TCB welcome, shall we? And I let the music play until the guest starts dancing. So,
Hey, we're good. Is it a bounce or do we have to have our hands in the screen?
you know,
It depends, right?
I always tell people it's the white guys that dance the latest. They just wait and wait and wait.
It's like, oh, this isn't going to stop.
Well, I haven't
Sometimes we
seen
just
Zandu
go-
yet, and I don't necessarily understand what true dancing is, I found out.
Right.
So I'm still trying to understand which side I have to go on. So
There you go.
Matt's got jokes.
there it is.
He's here.
We got a
He's
sound
got
effect
jokes.
real early. That's good. That's good, man. And my team who wrote that intro, I'm going to have to tell them thank you. So, but yeah, that's what we do. And it's a lot of fun.
That's awesome. Well, Matt, thanks for being with us today. It's joy to have you here.
It's a pleasure to be here.
All right. Well, we always start with an origin story question because I imagine when you were a little boy, you didn't set out to do these things. You didn't set out to be a keynote speaker and create a system for sustainable motivation or help people live the life that they're supposed to be living with intentionality. Tell us a little bit about what you thought you might want to do and how you got here.
Yeah. So, I mean, it went everything from being a Ninja Turtle, if we're going
Excellent.
way back, of like what was the game plan for Matt to being a DJ.
Okay.
That was a pretty long lived out trend.
Like a party rocking DJ or a radio DJ?
Yeah, like a party rocking DJ. Like we're going to get in there and work with the people. So I was kind of on track with the people thing. And then we were going to go and get into the casino industry and the hospitality industry. And then that didn't really hit what
the margins
was
are terrible in that industry.
Yeah, especially when you're playing on the table. So then when we decided to start a business, and that was a crazy adventure. And I kind of sat back and said, are we going to pay to go to the MBA, which is just more school? And I'm not very good at school. That wasn't a thing I was necessarily good at. Or does it make sense to take that money and start a business and see what happens? Yeah. And I took the business route. And fortunately, it was a success fairly quickly. And we were able to grow that, hiring individuals off of Craigslist to be about a $40 million sales organization. And that was when I realized I like growing business, but I really like growing people. And when we would hire individuals who what I recall was not unqualified, but definitely underqualified, right? They were not qualified to make the amount of money that we were making. What I found was my issue wasn't necessarily how do I get them to do their job? They had crazy work ethic. When you find people who are looking for jobs on Craigslist, and I'm not knocking anybody who does that, but there's a work ethic that actually comes with it if you can harness it and guide them properly. Mm-hmm. So when we brought all these people in trying to build out this system, the system worked really well, but the people were having problems showing up to work. And I'm a young entrepreneur, and I'm talking, again, I know we're talking HR people, so please just like, cover your ears if it's going to offend you. We didn't do background checks because I didn't want to know what was going on. I know that's a no, but in small business, we can do that kind of stuff. And I'm glad I didn't, because I wouldn't have hired the majority of our team. But what happened was I realized my people don't have problems with the business. My people have problems at home. How do I get them to like fix that so they can be here? We had rules in this business. Again, just don't hold it against me. It's after 5 o'clock, so we can where I'm at, right? You're not allowed to get arrested on Thursday or Friday or Saturday because we needed to go to an event, but Monday or Tuesday I could get you out and we'll just take it out of your check, right? Like there were rules and different ways to do this, and I just assumed that's how business works. The reason I share all of this was because that is what led us to what we do now, is having to solve the people problem for people who were never given anything to solve the problem with. Mm-hmm. So when people ask, how do I know it works? Because I had absolutely no interest or intention on being a speaker or being a consultant or whatever category you're going to put me in. In fact, I was not, and in most part still I'm not, a big fan of the industry that I'm pulled into. And I think we'll talk about that too. I think it's caused a lot more problems than it has good for people in the HR world, but also individuals. So that's kind of how it started, which led us to my wife, if we're going to continue that Genesis story into like, why are we here today? Yeah. My wife, Maria, who is so much smarter than me, prettier than me, like all that stuff, right? Like
I feel you, brother. I feel you.
Yeah. And there's proof here on the screen for you. So Maria came to me right before we were getting married and said, Matt, I knew marrying you was going to be hard, but I didn't realize it was going to be this hard. Like, you're insane. And I'm like, what are you talking about? She's like, I give you an idea and we want to start a new business. And like, I want to support you as a wife and I want to be with you as a partner, but like, I don't know how to do it. And that's not because she's not capable. My wife is much smarter than me, more capable than me, but the way my brain works is crazy. It's not organized. It's scatterbrained. It's typical entrepreneur's brain. And which people are like, I want to be an entrepreneur. I'm like, that is a blessing and a curse at the same time. So one thing leads to another. She asked how I keep my head on straight. And I said, well, there's these 9 questions I asked myself. So I pulled out what was a composition book. If you guys remember the composition books that like going back to school. So what I would do is in August and September, I would rush to like Office Max or any of the stores that were available. And I would grab these compositions. Yeah, I'd buy the whole year. Yeah. I'd go through one a month because I'm sitting there going through and structuring my week in a way, asking myself these 9 questions. When I showed it to her, she said the sexiest thing she ever said to me. She said, can I use your system?
Oh, baby.
And I was talking. Like, let's
keep
go.
talking.
Like, this marriage is going to work. So she saw it. She's like, all right. Look. And she wasn't doing it because she thought my system was good. She was genuinely concerned.
She's trying to figure you out.
Yeah. Like, she's like, you're an enigma. Like, this doesn't make sense. But I didn't think that. I just thought my system was great. So she sees it. She's like, this is good, but disgusting. Let me make it look nice, right? So she made it look nice. We went to FedEx. We got it printed. Everything was good. We started using it, and I was amazed at how disconnected I was with the woman that I should have the most connection with. Like, I thought I knew what she wanted, but I really was just doing what I thought she wanted. And it turns out I'm wrong quite often, right? Like my definition of providing and her definition of providing were basically the exact opposite. Oof. And when I had that conversation with her, I went, I wonder who else I don't know. So I gave it to my assistant. Then I gave it to our warehouse managers. Then I gave it to the employees in the warehouse, the sales teams, the administrative staff, everybody in our little business that we were building people off Craigslist. And I was amazed at how much I didn't know who they were and they didn't know who they were. They didn't know what they even wanted, but they knew they just needed more money. They'd always come to me, I need more money. I gave you more money. You're still not doing your job. So like what you're telling me isn't working. So when we started going through these 9 questions, it started to hit really hard. Well, eventually a business group in Atlanta, where I was living at the time, brought me in to do a talk for about 250 of their members. And they're like, hey, can you teach us what you do with that system? I'm like, yeah, sure. Give me like 3 hours and I'm sure I could figure something out, right? Like, give me a long time. I know I could give some content. We developed a system. Someone in that crowd connected with another big financial institution. That financial institution came to us and said, hey, we got a copy of your book. And it was this little planner, right? And if you see it, it's like right over here. That's the LP. Mm-hmm. It's a pen and paper planner. And it looks a lot nicer now than the composition book, just so you know. And it solves our biggest personnel problem. Can you help us? And I'm sitting there as a dumb entrepreneur going, yeah, of course, right? You're a Fortune 50 company. I'd love to come share with you what I do. So we sat down for 4 days and shared everything we do. And on day 4, they looked at me and they looked at each other and I was like, what's the deal? Like, I thought we were buddies. What's going on? They said, why aren't you charging us? And I looked at them and I said, well, what do you mean? They're like, we've been waiting for like an invoice to drop. This group, probably about a year before, spent about $1.2 million bringing in a group to work on purpose. And the result of it, the only metric they could find was that 10% of the people who went through the program left the company because they didn't want to sell mutual funds anymore. I said, you give me 10%, I'll get them all back, right? Like, you could still pay me. Like, we can have, they're like, no, we're good. So I said, all right, well, then you need to give me another day and explain to me why a company like yours needs such a simple solution and why you, with all the money in the world at a Fortune 50 company, why aren't you doing it well? And that's when the business kind of started. They said, we need to connect corporate desire metrics with individuals' desired lifestyles. They said, your system does exactly that. I said, is this a problem only you're going to have? And this was in 2017. And they said, no. They said, this is a problem all Fortune 50 companies have. However, they said, in probably 10 years or so, once everyone else catches up to this, it's going to be a problem for every business person. Now, I don't know if you guys remember what happened in 2019, 2020, right? That thing COVID came around. Mm-hmm. Well, yeah. We blew up. Because now, just like you were saying, Eric, of why you guys started this was everyone's like, how do we do this? What do we do? And what COVID did, there was a couple things. Obviously, there's the health side. But what COVID did was COVID took away our structure and our rhythm from a societal perspective. And structure brings freedom and rhythm brings peace. And there were times we were having conversations with huge companies and we were doing Zoom calls and I could smell the alcohol at 9 o'clock in the morning on these VPs of these large companies that all of us use on a regular basis. And I said, that's a major issue of what's happening. But what it also did was COVID did not make our employees worse. COVID maximized the flaws in our system. COVID made it obvious that our employees, although they're here at work, they're not working. And every single study shows the level of effectiveness of individuals is nowhere near what we expect it to be. Meaning individuals on average are functioning at about 40 to 60% of their maximum ability. Now, they think they're functioning at 100. What our system does is takes them from 40 to 80 and allows them to sit there, which doubles their output without increasing any cost or any other resources needed. So the genesis of it went from that big organization and then going out to Google headquarters and working with them, then working with Twitter, then jumping to the Air Force. And these huge companies started using us. And what happened was they were coming at us with different issues, but we would offer the same solution. Meaning, like certain companies want to work-life balance and communication and leadership and all the different, what I call the Amazon top 10, like the topical issues. And we would give the same solution and they would get the results they wanted. And what I realized was the biggest mistake these organizations were making, and most organizations still make, is we are doing what's called symptomatic solutions. Again, these are words that you're like, I've never heard that term. I know, because we kind of had to form these because they're counter to everything that's out there. I learned about symptomatic solutions. Sorry, I know I'm going on this, but it's kind of part of this story, and then I'll let you guys beat me up afterwards. But we learned about symptomatic solutions because my daughter Natalie's has a rare condition. She's in a wheelchair, and she has a lot of health issues. So one of the times we were in the hospital, and our doctor said, hey, look into palliative care, but don't Google it. And I'm sitting there going, all right, so what do? We Google it. And we're like, wait a minute, This is terrifying. Like, is she going to die? Like, that is not what we, like, I get why you said don't Google it, but I don't get why you didn't give me a reason. Like, this should be something you tell. And the reason why is what palliative care is. Yes, it's usually worked in the hospice world. You're going to hear that at the end of life with medical conditions, but it's also works on how to just make life more manageable when you have an incurable. So what that is what I call symptomatic solutions. My daughter's wheelchair is a symptomatic solution that helps her move, but doesn't help her walk. So these companies that were coming with us were coming at us with a symptom, trying to solve for the symptom, but not solving the root cause, and would never get the results they want. That's what most people are doing when it comes to implementing processes, procedures, all of that stuff, is they're not dealing with the people side of it. And regardless of how good the system is, if the people putting the input in are not at the highest level, you're not getting the maximum result. So the last example is, I always tell people, because I want to make sure this is understood, because if you get nothing out of this, but you just change your frame of reference to how to address these problems with people and realizing that people aren't the problem, people have problems, and that's why you have people problems. If I had a broken arm and I came to you, Eric, and I said, Eric, my arm is broken, it is sticking out of the bone, it hurts really bad, I need you to help me with the pain. You could give me morphine or some type of pain drug and the pain would go away. The problem is 20 minutes later, the issue is still there. What actually needs to happen, which is actually a little more painful, is I need to reset my bone, put a cast on it. And the beautiful thing is our bodies have been made in a way that it will create the result we need on its own. It will heal itself. And what I've come to find is humans are the same way if we properly equip them to bridge those gaps back to the company. So that's how we went from Ninja Turtles to broken bones. And that's the Genesis story.
I love it. I'm fascinated by so many things that you said, but I don't want to get too far away from the 9 questions because it's a pen and paper journal. And I know you have the Life Pulse methodology. Are those the same things or are they different?
They're different, right? Okay. So what happened was we started with this pen and paper planner, but a pen and paper planner, it gets stuck in this concept of time management. And not that time management's bad, it's that there's many solutions to that. What our focus actually is a full, what we call an optimization overhaul. So we come in, find what the root cause of the issue is, then we equip each company with a customized program that they and their team can use at scale in a sustainable way where individuals actually self-implement. So the LP methodology is, how do we also get people to self-implement this scalable and sustainable solution so that managers can do their job and they're not babysitting and they're not consultants themselves. One of the things I hate most is when I would have a company and a consultant would be like, I could fix your problem in, one 30-minute meeting for 10 grand. And I'm sitting there going, I've messed this thing up for 10 years. Like, how are you going to fix it in 30 minutes? You're not going to. What you're going to do is introduce a new idea that's going to add more to my plate and make me do something more. What I realize is the way we solve the problems is we equip the people to solve the problems, put clear expectations out there, and let them raise themselves to the bar, because humans actually will rise to the occasion. We naturally will if we are equipped properly. But the problem is no one has a solution that has the right flexibility or the right structure combined together to get the right results, both in personal and professional life. And that's why after buying tens of thousands of dollars of solutions, I created my own. And then we've taught it more on how do we actually make a character enhancement on the individuals. And if you could fix the individuals, the collective whole rises. So the LP planner is a tool that is used to help live out what is taught in the LP methodology and the optimization overhaul.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Do you find in organizations that implement this more or less resistance based on the generation of the employee? So if you think
Yeah.
about Gen Xers versus millennials versus whatever else, is it, across the board, people get it and can do it, or is there sort of more or less willingness to engage?
So it's across the board, people are willing to do it, but it needs to be implemented and introduced in the right way. Right. So let's just talk about the different generations, right? In our book, Motivate the Unmotivated, we talk about the generation gap and the difference. We just did boomers versus millennials because that seems to be at this point of the book, that was the biggest thing. Now we got Z's and A's coming in.
Well, because everybody forgets about X anyway. We're used to it. We're normalized.
Just leave us
It's
out.
good. That's all right. We remember you kind of. We remember you when you tell us, right? That's the concept, right? But what was happening, boomers and millennials were going at it. And the conversation, I was sitting there going, what's the difference between the two? Well, boomers were looking for freedom. Or I'm sorry, we're looking for a structure. And millennials were looking for freedom. So when you're trying to offer these two things at that level, they seem to counter each other. So instead, what we do is we come in and we go the level deeper to just the human desire. What every human wants is to be valued and experience fulfillment. And intentionality is the catalyst to fulfillment. No one accidentally gets fulfilled. And not only that, no one who is fulfilled complains about work-life balance. So the issue is when people say things like, I need help with work-life balance. No, you're just not fulfilled in what you're doing. Because I can do calls like this all day long. And I'm not going to complain about work-life balance. My wife will yell at me, right? But I would like to do these things. I love having these conversations. So I would say, to answer that question again, though, is it's about how you implement it, right? And the first thing is you have to walk them through a workshop to explain it, but you can't just explain it because Gen Zs don't trust anybody. They've lived their entire life with people lying to them. And now we're getting into an age of AI and things that you can't tell whether it's real or not online. So what you're going to need to be able to do is show proof of what you're saying. Boomers, because someone was in a position of authority, they listen. Millennials were told to press against authority. So if millennials press against you and you can't hold your own, they're done. Gen Zs are the opposite in the fact that they, I think, are the most valuable and easiest to work with when you understand how to work with them. They're not going to trust you right away, so you have to earn their trust, which is how it should be anyway. And they're going to question you, and if you don't have a good answer, they're going
out.
to turn their back on you.
Yeah.
Exactly. So what we do in our workshop is we do it all based on self-discovery. I'm not going to sit here and tell you what you should do. We're going to plan your week during the workshop using these 9 sections, and I want you to try to prove me wrong. If you prove me wrong, you send me a message, and I usually offer a prize to someone who does it. I've never had somebody be able to prove me wrong. Because when you do the parts of these nine questions, you're actually making time. We call it intentional margin. And that is something that Gen Zs have never experienced. Boomers saw their parents have it because boomers had the chance to kind of slow down and stop. Millennials, we just keep going because we want to keep going after that American dream that we've always thought was what we should be going after. But Zs have never had a chance to stop. So when you teach them margin and pause, and they sit there and go, I'm uncomfortable, but I kind of like it.
This is an option. Yeah.
And you show proof that this I'm offering you is not blowing smoke. Try it, break it, challenge it. You offer that ability, they will try to break it and challenge it. And when you offer a system that hits, there's 3 filters that everything we teach goes through. It's business first, personal second, and then family's the third. Meaning if it works in the business, that's the easiest one to do, right? How do you increase sales? How, like what you're supposed to do, that's the easy part. The how part's difficult. That's what our system does. Then you get to the personal stuff. All right, does this work in getting healthy? Will this system work? This truth go through? And then the third part is, will this work motivating my little girl who's in a wheelchair? Will this work with my dog? Because truth is constant. It works everywhere. So I give it to people to try in what we call the 4 vital signs of fulfillment, which is internal, physical, relational, and professional. And when your employees start using the things they learn at work in their personal life and get results, they're going to continue to use it in their professional life. And the problem is people try to separate personal and professional. And in this day of age, if you're doing that, you are the last to know. So I don't know if that answered it fully, like I said, but it's been a really remarkable. The reason why our system doesn't work is people don't use it, if that makes sense. And then what happens is leadership, I call them, it's like they serve Brussels sprouts, but they don't like the taste. Like, don't serve people stuff you're not going to eat. This system works for C-level individuals. We've done it with some of the largest companies in the world to entry-level individuals who, like I said, barely made it through high school. It doesn't matter because it's personalized to the individual. And that's the key. We give them system that allows them to bridge the gap back to the company, not trying to have a system that's like, hey, every single person, if you use it the exact same way, you're going to get the results we want. No. The system, the framework works. You make it yours. You leverage it. You beat the snot out of it and see what happens. And the results are always better.
I love what you just said. The notion that, you can't separate life, right? You just have life, right? You work in it, you live in it. It's all one big gummed up mess, right?
Yes.
That's a thing that's been an evolving kind of idea over the last 25, 30 years. Cause my parents, the boomers, work was work, home was home, yes. Right? You left the office, they couldn't really even contact you, right? So there was a big dividing line between that. Well, we live in a world now where everything is munged together, and that's cool. I love what you said about fulfillment. I wrote down, no one gets accidentally fulfilled.
Yeah.
Right? You got to do that on your terms and intentionally. My question for you is around, because we do peopling with other people, how do relationships factor into your system, and what do you advise people to do to invest in them or jettison them, or just how do they fit into the model?
Ask, don't tell. It's questions. And then listen. It's the one thing managers are terrible at, because they've thought management has become babysitting. I need to tell Eric what to do. Lori, I need to make sure you're doing your job. If you think your job is to hold people accountable, you've mismanaged the messaging that needs to be there. People are to be accountable. If you're holding them accountable, that's not managing, that's babysitting. You have failed at the beginning of it. So how do the relations go? You ask questions. There are 3 questions that if you want to do this tomorrow, right, Eric, we were talking, what could they do tomorrow? If you do this tomorrow and you do this for 4 cycles, usually once a week, 4 weeks in a row, you will be able to motivate your people to do whatever it is that needs to happen. Again, I said motivate, not manipulate. So don't use this improperly. All right. And this is exactly. So this is talked about in the book, Motivate the Unmotivated, but it's also the first 3 questions of that 9-part planner that we talked about. It's number 1, what are you focused on? Number 2, what are you grateful for? And number 3, what are you working towards this week? And I ask it in all areas of life. And here's the reason why. If I'm working with somebody, I want to know who needs my management and who doesn't need my management. So if I'm sitting there and I'm working, and Lori and I are working on a project, and Lori has a big proposal that needs to be out later on, and she says her one-word focus is outside because the weather's nice, and her gratitude is just having the most amazing husband in the world. And then I know, I got you, Eric, right? So, and then, but her focus is like, I can't wait for the weekend because we're going on a trip together. I know I need to have a conversation with Lori and say, hey, super excited for your trip. Just want to make sure, where are we at with that proposal? Oh, it's right on time. Cool. Just want to make sure I didn't hear that as a main focus. And I would have thought that would have been a main focus. Now, on the contrary, if Lori says working on that proposal, good. I don't need to micromanage her now. I know this. Now, why does this work so well? Is it takes about 60 to 90 seconds per person, because they don't have to explain themselves. What am I focused on? What am I working towards? What am I grateful for? This has given us some amazing insight. One time we did this, and one of my assistants back in the day said her one-word focus was cancer. And I'm sitting there going, like, cancer? Like, you don't follow the astrological stuff. Like, I don't know. Okay, well, what's going on there? And what's been happening was I was actually about to fire her because she would leave early on Friday, and she was the first person you'd see in the office. And she would come on Monday, kind of groggy, like not as happy as Matt would like her to be. So my foolish self was going to fire her. What she was doing was she was leaving on Friday, going to do her chemo treatment.
Oh, shit.
Saturday, Sunday, coming back Monday, just so she wouldn't interrupt work. She didn't tell anybody because she didn't want anyone to have like a pity party for her. But I was about to fire her because of this, because I, as an inconsiderate, unaware idiot, never asked her, like, what's going on? I just thought she was in a bad mood on Mondays, right? Like, it's a case of the Monday, so let's fire her. And that was when I started realizing, wait a minute, these people have things outside that they care a lot more about work. So instead of sitting there going, Eric, you should care more about your work, I'm going to go, Eric, tell me about your band.
Yeah.
Like where are you playing this weekend? If I were to ask you that, my daughter in a wheelchair, if somebody asked me how Natalie's doing, I'll run through a wall for that person.
Yeah.
And it's not people like, I don't want to get too personal. No, you're scared.
Yes.
Period.
Yes.
And it's not about getting too personal, right? And if it starts getting that far, hey, look, Eric, this is a conversation. You might want to go have a conversation with a professional. But let me also remind you, if you're listening to this, most likely you're in HR.
Right.
You're dealing with people, right? So if you don't like that part of it, there's other professions to go into. And I think that's where, when we have that, man, it's all about relationships. Everything we do is about the person side of the person. That's why I love you say personing correctly, like that, or peopling, you said.
Peopling.
Right? Like, it's just that's what we need to do. And I think in this situation, if you don't have a good relationship and you can't manage relationships, you cannot manage people.
Yeah. Well, it's such a, my soapbox is always about high trust relationships, right? If you want high performing teams and you want people that are engaged and happy at work, right? Not a burden, right? To be at work. The more you know them as a whole person and acknowledge them as a whole person, you don't have to be their best friend. You don't have to hang out on the weekends. You don't have to be Facebook friends. Maybe you shouldn't be Facebook friends sometimes.
Exactly.
But if I know you and I can flex that based on your wanting to be known, right? Because there's people that are super, super open and there are people that are kind of quiet. And so you can't treat everybody the same, but you can make those efforts. And to your point, when you know somebody knows you, first of all, they will work harder for you, right? There's more loyalty and connection there. And they're going to be willing to tell you, I am having a hell of a time at home and I need a little grace right now. Right. So that goes both ways.
And that's what the system does. You're spot on, is it actually brings the humanity back into the conversation. So it doesn't matter whether you're remote, you're hybrid. This is why it worked so well during COVID, was I can know where Eric stands based on when he says what he says. If Eric says marriage, but it's not his anniversary, and that's his one word focus, I might want to ask what's going on there. And not that I need to know all the different details, but man, are you 100%? Are you able to get where you need to go? One of the programs that we teach talks about the fact of like how special ops military individuals function at such a high level. But the key is, it's okay if someone's not at 100%, as long as the rest of the team knows, hey, I'm at 80. Like, I'm not 100%. Cool. Then I know that as much as I normally trust my left, I can't trust it as much because I can only trust it at 80%. But that's the issue, is there's no space for people to go, hey, hands up. And this is not like a kumbaya, like I'm just not feeling well. That's not what this is. But this is a, hey, I'm drowning. It's not accountability based on who messed up. It's accountability based on who needs help.
Yeah.
Because that's what the issue is. So there's 5 components to this LP methodology. And the first one that we do is what we call bridging the gap from understood to understand. And that's where a lot of people fall trapped to this, is we think as a manager, we are supposed to be understood. Now, you need to understand. And if you don't understand, take time to figure it out, because you're going to invest in these people. The question is, do you invest up front or do you invest forever? And I relate that to the 26-year-old kid that's still living at home. If you ask those parents, would you do something different? Sorry if any of you have that. Would you do something different? Right? You would probably say, yeah, you know what? I might have done it a little differently because it's not turning out the way I thought it was. So you're still investing. I don't have time. I can't do all this. They should just do their own job. They should do this. I call that shoulding on people. Yeah. Managers should not should on people. No one likes to be should on. So stop shoulding on them. And I think that concept is one of the main competencies that we instill in people. But the other part, to your point, Eric, and even Lori, to your part of having those honest, just deep, hard conversations, is the managers aren't equipped to do it. So instead of trying to train these managers to work with individuals who aren't trained to articulate it, what we do is we give them the tool, the LP, so that the entry-level people have those answers and they're able to actually articulate it up. And then we train the managers. All you got to do is ask questions and listen for trends. And then we train those managers up. You do the same with your direct reports, and we go direct report to direct report to direct report. So as the HR director, one of the things I get from every HR director we work with is like, oh, like 3 of my people get it and the other 700 don't. Like, and if I could just duplicate those 3, and I sit there and go, we can, here's how. It takes about 4 cycles of doing it, where you're basically learning it, you're practicing it, you're perfecting it, and then you're doing it naturally. Those are the 4 cycles of self-implementation that we teach, that all of a sudden it's like, wait a minute, this actually, my life's a little better. My job's not as annoying. I actually like coming to work. Wait a minute. My issue is that my back hurts when I wake up. It's not that I have a bad job, because my job is where it needs to be. And in fact, when we talk about the transactional agreement that we made when I came on board, this is something we always share with clients once we get kind of a relationship that we could say it, meaning the rest of the team. Once you come on board, who's not holding up their end of the bargain? Because I don't know a company who could say, I'm going to pay you X and then decide to pay you 30% less because you're only doing 30% less than 100%. So in reality, the employee is always doing less than they say they will, but the company cannot pull the money down to match their effort. So we need to have a conversation on how do we bring that level up to about that 80%. We only hire people that can do 100% of their job at 80% of their ability, because otherwise you're hiring them into burnout. Like, how do we do burnout? Well, you're hiring them to be like a stretch goal to just make it by. They're not going to survive. That's not a qualified individual for that role right there, especially with how fast things move in today's world. If you can't be agile in your position, you're done. And if your team is at 100% coming off the start, you're redlining right away, your engine will burn out.
I love that. And it makes me think, there was research done, I think this was in the 90s. This was like the Carl Lewis era of Olympic sprinters. And there was research done that translates from the world of running and sprinting and Olympic sports to just life in general. What they learned was that it was the runners who ran consistently at about 80% of capacity that won the most races, set the most records. Yeah. The runners who, thanks Zoom for the 2-finger balloon salute. That's always fun.
Happy birthday, Ruby.
Yeah. But I thought it was fascinating, right? That it's the 80%ers that are actually the performers. The 100%ers are the ones that burn out. They get injured. Awesome. Their careers are short. They don't get to do the things that the 80%ers get to do for a longer period of time, more consistent.
Yep. And I can't wait to take that study now. Thank you. because we've seen it anecdotally, but that's the exact same thing. And we have to be realistic about this stuff.
Well, and I think that falls squarely in line with something, I know this is a passion of Ruby's, and I talk about this all the time too, about boundaries so that you can take care of yourself, right? Yeah. If you're going 100% with your hair on fire always, something's got to give. Yeah. And it's going to be your health. It's going to be your marriage. It's going to be your relationship with your kids. It's going to be any number of things. Yeah. And so this concept of having boundaries so that you can take care of yourself, so that you can take care of others, is not a selfish thing. It's an essential thing.
Yeah. And I always tell people, I say, when we do boundaries, because then the people start, things can be either a tool or an idol, right? AI is that way, my system is that way. any system you put in, but boundaries too. And what we tell people is you do need boundaries, and you almost need to think of them as rubber bands versus cement walls. And certain ones, like I said, I think you could argue a point of certain relationships. You need boundaries for reasons and safety reasons, but conceptually, with what you're talking about, and here's the reason why, is when someone talks about burnout, whose fault is it? It's the individuals.
Yeah.
Now, whose responsibility is it? It's the managers. So exactly what you said, Lori, is spot on. It's like, hey, like if you're not functioning. So one thing we do in what we call our pulse check, which is kind of our weekly check-in, is we'll say, what capacity are you at? And if you got someone who's at 100% all the time, you got to have a conversation. Now, there's times where we're going to be at 100%, right? That's kind of what we call an expansion cycle. Like, hey, all hands on deck, new thing happening, acquisition happening, market shift, whatever it might be.
Right.
But that shouldn't be your normal method of pace. And pace is something that I think is really forgotten. And Eric, to your point in that study, it's a disaster when you don't use it.
Well, and how much of it is self-imposed?
Right.
I think a lot of us fall into that. We want to be the I can't think of the word, right? But we're the ones who are going to show that we can do it. We're always available. We're always on. We're always going to respond when nobody expects that, right? Nobody's ever said you need to respond to your email at 9 p.m. Right. But they're going to do it. They're the martyr. That's the word. I couldn't remember.
Yeah.
And I was just talking to a gal that I mentor who's been in sort of this chaos cycle. And I said, when it's 8 o'clock at night and you're still going at it, can you just pause and ask yourself, what's the worst thing that could happen if I close my computer right now?
Yeah.
Going to get fired? Nope. Is something going to go off the rails? Nope. Right? Like, help yourself out here. Yeah.
And that's the biggest thing is what's happening is people are not effective and productive during their day. So they feel guilty not working late at night, right? They kind of go about it in reaction all day long. So they feel they have to be on all day. It's called FOG, fear, obligation, and guilt. 3 things that we're not allowed to function out of as a client of ours. Fear, obligation, and guilt. It doesn't work. That's how, you were talking, we had this thing called regretless decisions, Eric, that I can send over to you. It's not a book, but it's a simple solution that we found hits so hard with making sure we're making the right choices quickly. But in this situation, when individuals are working through this concept of burnout and working through, Lori, what you were saying of like, hey, who's responsible for it, is when you are effective during the day, it's easy to shut off at night. I'm always on, I'm always connected. That is a choice. And I learned that when I had Natalie and she has her episodes and I can't be available. Right. Like, sorry, guys, I need a day. And because I communicate well with people and they understand that I am being efficient where I need to be, I can work through that. And when it comes to even with my wife, because we have this system and there's certain survival shapes that we use to know which things need to happen and what needs to happen before the day's over, given a little more that I don't have time to dive into now, I can go to Maria and say, hey, I need a little bit more time. I know it's 5. I know I'm supposed to be with the kids, but like, I got to get this one more thing done. And she gets it because she knows the other part of my day, I have been intentional. I have been working through that. And that's the focus. Can we combine intention and structure to get what we call perpetual development? And when you can get that, you don't have to force people to do stuff anymore. You see, what happens is intention, or perpetual development, again, another term that we've kind of developed. It comes from combining those 2 things, intention and structure. And intention is the purpose behind the goal, and structure is what I define as a repeatable process towards achievement. And when you combine those 2, you have the intention to start the structure. The structure then needs to be built in a way that re-engages that same intention to then reuse the structure again, right? So it's that perpetual development. It's a circle. The best way to understand this constant perpetual development is like if we were going on a road trip. And if you're going on a road trip, you need a vehicle, you need a route. The vehicle is this concept of intention. The route is this concept of structure, right? How you're going to get there. But I tell people, if you have a vehicle with no route, that's just wasted energy. You're just driving around doing nothing. You have all the intention, but you have no way of doing it. And if you have a route without a vehicle, that's a wasted opportunity. So you have a direction to go, but no way to get there. You have to do both. So regardless of what you're doing, if you are bringing in training and you are not bookending it with intention and structure, you are burning cash. You are wasting resources on valuable resources. And that's why when we come into companies, we do a full evaluation and we say, hey, How can we maximize results with your current resources? You do not need to buy more stuff. You do not need to buy a new software, because if the average person is functioning at 40% within your organization, which is probably a high number with some of the larger organizations, but let's just say 40%, and we can get them to get to 80, that's a double in output without increasing anything. Now, how do we do it? It does take time. It does take self-realization. But the question is not, man, can we move faster? I don't need to move fast. I want to move effectively.
Right.
And that's why we have, go ahead, finish your thought.
People get busy confused with effective,
Yes.
right?
All the
So
time.
I can be busy all day long and not accomplish a damn thing. Or
Right.
I can be productive in half of that amount of time and accomplish a ton of things.
Yeah. And that's the person that leaves at 5 and goes home with their family.
With no guilt, to your point,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Exactly. So if you're feeling guilty, think about it as not I'm guilty, but I'm actually just being disobedient. Like in the other part of the day. Like if you're at night thinking you have to work more, it's because it's not that you weren't busy, but the way you did your day was not as effective and intentional as you need it to be, which is why our system is so transformational. And then the other part is we hate the concept of high performers. And what's happened is the world, especially this industry, has developed this concept of grind it out, right? The grind it culture, the hustle culture. And I get it. Trust me, I have no problem working hard and outworking people. But just because you're working hard doesn't mean you're being smart. To your point, Lori, busy versus effective. I don't need someone who's busy. I need someone who gets the job done. And if you get the job done in half the time that I think it was, then that's great.
Great.
But in this situation, high performers, here's how we describe this. There's 4 levels of performance. There's lazy and unaware, there's high potential, there's high performance, and the 4th is what we call optimal performance. Everything we do, back to that LP methodology, is all about how do you experience optimal performance from everybody in your company. Meaning I bring Jimmy or Jenny in, and Jimmy or Jenny is operating an optimal level, 100% of their ability, and they're not doing the role they need, they're in the wrong role. Easy. Let's free them. We don't need to keep them here trapped in this position. But if they're not at the optimal level, then we should coach them to get there. That's where the equipping comes in. So let me define high performance and optimal performance. High performance, high output, unsustainable pace compared to others. Optimal performance, high output at a sustainable pace compared to one's own ability. If you change what your goal is to get everyone to optimal, I can take people, and I have done it many times. Our team has done it. Our system has done it, from lazy and unaware directly to optimal. You don't have to go through all 3 routes, but we're usually at one of those spots. And here's what happens. High performance, high output, unsustainable pace compared to others. That would be like me saying, I am the fastest slow person, so therefore I'm fast. That's not a logical statement. It might mean you're not slow, but it depends on who you're going against. We have lowered the status quo bar so low that if I'm not bad, then therefore I'm good. And that's not the case.
No.
If you're not bad, you're just not bad, objectively speaking. But that doesn't define you as now good. But that's how matters. We've lowered the status quo. We've lowered the bar. We've lowered the expectations. And then we sit there and go, I can't get my people to do anything. People haven't changed. Like humans haven't changed. And it's the easiest time in the world to get the most stuff done. We have robots that are doing things that we never knew they could do. And HR is terrified of. What are we going to do with AI? What you're going to do with AI is, if you're smart about it, again, idle or tool, you're going to work with your people to find out how can we leverage this versus how do we try to avoid it? Because what would you do if your team can now do 10 times the amount of output, and instead of hiring 10 people to do it, you maybe increase their pay by 20%?
What?
I mean, that's the exciting part when you think of it that way. Hey, can you do more? I'll pay you more, but you got to do more than just the 20% bump in what you're doing. I want to see an exponential growth and create what we call SOPs. And people are like, oh, they can't do standardized process, and that's my job. Cool. My SOPs are suggested operating procedures, right? So this is how I suggest we do this, and have them format that and throw them bonuses or give them whatever benefit we need. There are so many ways to motivate your people And it's not that it's hard, it's that you have been told improperly how to do it, and you have no system to do it. And when we increase and implement systems that get the best version of the person to show up, managing becomes fun, it becomes fulfilling, it becomes rewarding, and your little work-life balance complaints start going away very, very quickly.
Oof. You know, Matt, I gauge the quality of an episode by how much shit I write down during the episode. And I have written 2 full pages of stuff.
Oh, that's awesome.
So much quotable stuff. I want to be mindful of the time because I know you've got family responsibilities and it's later on the East Coast. Ruby, good. Any questions from you before we wrap her up for the day?
No, I took a lot of notes as well. I just wanted to sort of double down on something you said, talking about, like for me, it all points to the relationship and learning more about that person. And you talked about asking questions and listening and curiosity. It feels so important. And then it connects to my soapbox, one of them, which is around being deeply present with other humans. Yeah. That when we're asking these questions and listening, we have to really, really be present and pay attention to the whole person. I feel that's like table stakes and takes these conversations to a much different level. So just wanted to sort of connect that. But thank you.
No, that's awesome. And it's funny. There's 5, and I know you're cutting me off on I don't want to go over too much time, but there's 5 core components that for those who are listening, if you could just take these and figure out where am I missing in this process? And if you reach out to us and say, hey, here's where I'm missing, I'm at this level, I'd be happy to have a conversation with you. And like I said, we'll even have a website. Whenever I like doing a podcast, I was telling you, Eric, we offer like a custom page that's based on the topics that we talk about. So if you go to lifepulseinc.com/TCB, you'll get that custom aspect just for the HR people that are listening to this. But these 5 core components, I already talked about the first one, understand versus understood. So bridging the gap from understood to understand, bridging the gap from sporadic to perpetual development, in which we talked about that. Bridging the gap from unaware to self-aware. There's an amazingly dangerous Harvard study about people. 95% people think they are self-aware. Turned out only 10 to 14% are, right? So if you're sitting there going like, I always tell people, if you're one of the people who's like, oh, I feel bad for that 10 to 14%, I'm like, you're part of you. That problem, right? Like, so the other one is no integrity to natural integrity. That goes back to that. How do you get people to be actually accountable and hold themselves accountable? And then here's the last one that I think all HR needs to focus on: feelings to quantifying progress. There is a technique that we use that quantifies the impact that happens when it comes to growth. It is something that is super helpful when it comes to bringing in programs, super helpful when it comes to having a conversation. Hey, did it work? I don't know. We really can't tell. That's like when you go to hire a PR firm and like, we don't know what we're going to get. We're just going to pay us on a retainer. We'll see. It doesn't need to work that way. We need to press the people who are coming in to teach the stuff they're teaching to find us quantifiable ways to share the progress. Now, there's ways we do all that stuff. So if you're sitting there going like, man, we don't have ways to have quantifiable progress, that's our impact report, right? We have aspects like, wait, we don't have that natural integrity. That's our value-based gap goals. There's different tools that we can offer you and solutions we can give you to navigate that. But those 5 competence tend to be a great way to figure like, where am I lacking and where do I need to start? So anyway, we can do a round 2 if we need to, but there's a ton that we can get into.
Oh my God, Matt. Seriously, dude. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Such a good conversation. I'm already looking forward to producing this so I get to hear it again because there's just so much good stuff in here. Round 2, probably something we ought to talk about because I could do another hour like right now. But we're getting close to dinner time, and
thank you.
You know, Maria is going to be pissed if I don't let you go do your stuff.
She's understanding.
So we're going to get into our end of show thing. Matt, you're welcome to stick around. It takes about 4 or 5 minutes to get through, but if you need to go, you should go. All right. Time. Funny things. These are stupid things from the internet that made Eric laugh this week. This is for Ruby because she has a milestone birthday this week. You don't become cooler with age, but you do care progressively less about being cool, which is the only true way of being cool. This is called the geezer's paradox.
That's awesome. All that except for the use of the word geezer. I was like, yes, this
is about people being misunderstood. It's from the Crime Blotter, 8:44 a.m. Report of a male riding bike through neighborhood yelling racial slurs. 8:47 a.m. Officer stops man who says he's just trying to find his dog. Snickers.
Ouch.
Matt mentioned AI, and sometimes when computers make recommendations, they don't work. This is from a Walmart shopping cart. They were out of an item, and Walmart suggested a different item. The item that they were out of was Tampax Pearl tampons with leak guard. The substitution suggested was whole white mushrooms. Hi, Walmart. I don't think mushrooms will work.
Same color?
This one is a visual one, and there are 4 characters in it. It says the odds are against her. It's a girl on a go-kart, and she's racing against 3 other people, 2 Marios and a Luigi. The odds are definitely against her in that Mario Kart.
You would think that might be like one of their girlfriends, but probably not.
Probably not.
Odds are.
Odds are they don't have girlfriends.
Exactly.
These next few are animals, and animals are the best. And this one just cracked me up. My dog just got a haircut, and now it looks like he gave up drinking and got his life together. This one is a cat. It's a cat named Bill. He is sitting in a bird feeder box. Bill is running a scam. You're not fooling anyone, Bill.
So cute.
But my favorite funny thing today. Now I have to unplug my lamp at night because this furry bastard learned how to turn it on, and he turns it on every time he's hungry in the middle of the night.
Corey.
Corey's our cat, Matt. Just look at his face. He's like,
this is how this works. Amazing.
I'm gonna keep it in the animal lane and let Steve do Steve. And he's talking about his own family in this one, so it's a good one.
Now Steve Hartman on the road with his best friend, but not at first.
Steve Hartman on the road with my loving family.
He cracked himself up in that one.
I love seeing Steve get a little vulnerable. I'm gonna keep it in the animal lane. Today's cocktail is called the Gnarly Doggo. It's a riff on the Surf Rider. You need a little vodka, 3 ounces, 1 killer day at Huntington Beach, an ounce of sweet vermouth. So Purina runs a sanctioned dog surfing competition every year. A little bit of fresh squeezed lemon juice, 40 dogs ages 2 to 13, a little bit of orange juice. There were corgis, Dalmatians, pit bulls, labs, Westies, and terriers. A little grenadine, hang 10 pupper. Look at these pictures. This one in the cone here, that's the corgi, Lori, right there.
Yes.
This Westie, we got 2 labs on surfboards. I didn't know dog surfing was a thing, but apparently
we watched the human surfers at Huntington Beach for like an hour. Yeah. I would have not left if they were dogs.
Oh, thank you so much. Thanks to Matt for being here today. Thanks to everybody that's tuning in. This is a banger of an episode, and I can't wait to get it out there for the world to take in. Thanks, Matt. Thanks to everybody. Go have some dinner. We'll see you next week.
Thank you so much for joining us today. If you had a good time and learned a thing or two at today's happy hour, please share it with your friends. If you want to join our tribe, head on over to skyeteam.cloud/TCB or email us at info@skyeteam.com. That's SKYE team.com. Thanks again, and remember, you've always got friends at the Corporate Bartender.